Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to do our class of Halacha in modernity. They asked, I just want to refer, this week's parsha is about Yaakov, and they asked Rav Moshe Feinstein in Chelek Aleph of Choshen Mishpat Teshuvah 104, Kaf Dalet, a fascinating question. I know I have a lot of Baruch Hashem college age and teenagers in our shul, especially our youth minyan, and everybody loves the NFL, which I'm personally not a big fan of. I'm more NBA, baseball, but they asked Rav Moshe a fascinating question around, it seems like 50 years ago, and that is, are you allowed to become a professional football player, join the NFL? Now, why not? Because the question is a Jew, halachically, morally, according to our Torah, you know our Torah is temimah, is so complete. You know what the beauty of being a Jew is? We're never in the dark. Any question that we have to know how to live our life, we can get guidance from the Zohar, from the Talmud, from words of wisdom of God. Because God is our manufacturer, and there's no place in life that we are like sheep without a shepherd.
Rabbi, does it have to do with NFL or any?
Yeah, so I'm gonna embellish the question. Now, I just want to let you know, this week's parsha is Parshat Vayetzeh. You know, Yaakov has to work 14 years to marry Rachel and Leah. And Yaakov, for many, many years, worked for his father-in-law, Lavan, which was also his uncle. And if you look in Parshat Vayetzeh, Bereshit, Genesis 31, chapter 31, Pasuk Mem 40, Yaakov says that he was a very, very, very good worker. He says, Hayiti beyom achal nicherev v'kerech balayla v'tidor shinati me'enai. He told his father-in-law that he worked for many years. He said, listen, Danny, that for many years, through bitter cold and warmth, I didn't sleep at night, so I should make sure that I'll be a good shepherd, that your sheep and your animals shouldn't die. So the question here exactly to address you is, guys, is one allowed, no money, no honey, but if also no money, no life? We know that in 2008 there was a terrible economic crisis. Is a Jew allowed to become like a coal miner, a policeman? Is a Jew allowed to become a high-rise construction? Sometimes when you work on these big high-rise construction, you could fall off. So the question here is a Jew allowed to have a dangerous job? Yes. Or maybe because there's a small chance, why not just go become a salesman? A job that, a policeman, you could get shot to death. NFL, there's a major study right now that a lot of NFL people, they get brain damage permanently from concussions. And there's a whole movie made about it, whole documentary. So, it's a fascinating question. They ask a similar question to one of the greatest rabbis of Europe around 200 years ago. And that is, because, your profession is something you do between 8 and 10 hours a day. Let's say the only job available to you is to become a hunter, because you want to get the fur to make, mink coats and a lot of, the hats that they make. So is a Jew allowed to become a hunter? So there's a fascinating Gemara in the Talmud Bava Metzia. We know one of the most important mitzvahs is that it's very, very important to pay a worker on its time. Let's say you cut the case of the Gemara is, you hire a tree trimmer. The Gemara is in Baba Kama, page 112a. The Gemara says, one of the most important commandments of the Torah that the Zohar talks about a lot is that a Jew is obliged to pay a worker at the end of his term. Why? Because the Torah says, "Ve'elav hu noset nafsho." Because to you, anybody that's worked made an honest living, you know sometimes it's literally blood, sweat, and tears. You don't sleep. You have to put in extra hours to get the job done, to get the deal sealed. So put yourself in the place of your worker, right? He has to cut down a whole bunch of trees because you want to expand your backyard. He's giving his life to you. So the least you could do to appreciate it is to pay him, because, by the way, we take it for granted. We have bank accounts, we have savings accounts, people own stocks. You don't realize how poor the people in the past used to be. If you don't feed him, the guy may die because he's worked the whole day. He hasn't eaten anything, you know. He's going to go home, sleep. He can't wake up the next morning to go work for another person, trim another tree. So, both Rav Moshe Feinstein, which was the greatest halachic authority in America for almost 50 years, and also the Noida Yehuda, says, we see from this Gemara, the Gemara says that, you know, a tree trimmer, if anybody's gone, you know, a lot of times people even building sukkahs, they get hurt because when you go on high trees, now, tree trimmer is a very dangerous job, because once you climb the tree, you could fall and break your head. But you see the Talmud is saying an example of a type of worker that you have to be very careful to pay him on time is a tree trimmer. So from this Talmudic source, Rav Moshe Feinstein very clearly says that it is okay to be an NFL player technically, or a soccer player, or a type of sports player where your life could be in danger. Because if there's no other option to have a job, first of all, that's one thing you have to keep in mind. If you don't have another job, you're going to die of hunger, right? So this is something that you like and is an opportunity for you to be done. But Rav Moshe says it's not worse than a tree trimmer, right? Because a tree trimmer also there's a danger. But something to keep in mind is that you should never hire anybody to do a job that is dangerous, unless you specifically let them know, because then, or the people playing with you, like let's say you want to make a professional, Israel wants to make a professional NFL type of team, right? If you know, that's a big problem with the NFL. People want to sue them now, is because if you misrepresent the dangers of the job as the employer, that's wrong, Rav Moshe says. But if you know that what you're getting yourself into, then there's no problem, ethically or morally or halachically, because the Talmud brings an example of being a tree trimmer where it itself is dangerous. And the same thing goes for the Noda Yehuda. The Noda Yehuda was asked, guys, is it okay for a Jew to become a professional hunter, right? He hunts because he wants to hunt bears or any type of animal so he could sell the skins. And again, the Noda Yehuda says, even though some of these animals, they're very dangerous, they may attack you, so there would be reason to say, avoid this job. But he says that it's not worse than being a tree trimmer. So if the Talmud says being a tree trimmer is okay, then being a hunter is also okay. But, I've said this many times in my modern halacha classes, the Noda Yehuda is very clear. What do you think, Nate? Is it okay to become a hunter? You know, Cecil the lion was a big thing, uproar in the media today, recently. Is it okay, what do you think, guys, to be a hunter just for pleasure? Right? You just like to, go.
It's wrong.
So there, the Noda Yehuda makes a very, very important distinction. That we said it's okay to become an NFL or play, but let's say you want to just play in a pleasure league, right? Like in summers or when you're off, and it's a type of football where you could get tackled and literally break your neck, get spine injury, So for pleasure, you're not allowed to be a hunter, the Noda Yehuda says. Besides that, the fact that the Noda Yehuda, last week's parsha was, Yaakov, a Jew, should be studying and be wise, not being, Esav was the one that was a hunter. So if you're just doing dangerous activities for enjoyment, that wouldn't be allowed. So as a conclusion, if your job is suicidal, which has more than a 50% chance of you dying, then you should not do that, right? If there's a minimal amount of danger, like a policeman, okay, some policemen died during the year, or to be a coal miner, not every coal miner dies. See, if that's the only job you have, that's one of the rationales, and you don't work, then you're going to die from hunger.
Right.
Or, you have to feed your family. You have to make a living. But it may be wise to consult a lawyer and a rabbi and a mentor to see how dangerous a job is. To do research. Because if it's very, very dangerous, it wouldn't be halachically permitted. You understand?
What happens if the content is close? Like they put it on the contract that the risk is danger or death.
Right, yeah. So that's why. There's a gray area here. Definitely is if there's more than a 50% chance of you dying within the year, you wouldn't be allowed. There's something like policemen where it's, a lot of people do it. Then there's a gray area. I don't know if you want to be like a bounty hunter or go, work for... No, seriously, do you know? They say in the future a lot of the wars that may be fought is by people like Blackwater. Remember Blackwater? They were private contractors to like special ops in the Iraqi war. Instead of the American government hiring actual army, they hire private contractors. So I don't know how wise of an idea it is to go want to be like hired to kill terrorists around the world. In Afghanistan, it may be more than a 50%.
I remember that they hired me for linguistic to go to Afghanistan.
Exactly.
Give you life insurance.
Wow.
But that already tells you that you
exactly. So there definitely is a gray area here where, especially if you have a wife and kids, you should not, And also you have to also keep in mind, Baruch Hashem, nowadays there's so many different choices. But to put yourself in a place where there's like a 10, 20, 30%, above a 10% chance of you dying, it's for sure problematic, and you may want to consult with your father, mother, somebody wise, whether you should do it or not. Now, but if it's a normal job which has its risks, like NFL or a policeman or coal miner, it would be allowed. But any of these dangerous activities, to do it just for fun, would not be allowed. And just to end off, we Jews, we have a strong, strong work ethic. We learned from this week's Parsha that when you're an employee, should you be like some people are now, on their cell phones the whole day or playing games or watching YouTube? No. We learned from Yaakov Avinu that when you're hired to be a tutor, nowadays it's also very problematic because people are addicted to their cell phones. And because of the internet, I saw a study, many, many people, they're very unproductive. If a normal person works an 8-hour office job and takes like 3 coffee breaks and has a half an hour lunch, but to abuse and, not even work, to take 10, 15 coffee breaks, take 2-hour lunch, from Yaakov Avinu we learned that to be hired, to be an employee, just like an employer has to pay his worker on time, so for also an employee has a job to work as if it was his own company. And may Hashem help us to be honest and safe all the time. Please don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day.